Chairman, President Huffman always considered you to be a reasonable guy, you know.
Thank you.
A strong person on the other side, but a reasonable guy.
Call my wife, let her know that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I sit on the committee, the subcommittee. We travel around in your district as well, around the state. And one of the main issues that you can remember as well, that came from the public testimony, is they wanted to, once we decide or leaning toward a particular map or maps, they would like to have some public opportunities to have access to those, to have maybe some hearings and additional testimony. And looks like the schedule that you've indicated that we're going to have here is maybe a 24-hour turnaround. And I just wanted to know, being a reasonable guy as you are, how do you justify, or what rationale do you use to deal with the issue of providing some public comment or public access or public hearings? We don't have 24 hours.
Now, Mr. Chairman and Representative Sykes, thanks for the question. Let me say first, and I mentioned this to members of the media a few minutes ago, these maps are available online at this map is available online at reshapedOhio.org right now for the public to look at. And I appreciate that that's not the kind of public view that necessarily you're talking about. But part of the reason why we had these hearings was to find out in general what the public wanted to have. You know, at some point a map has to be drawn and a map has to be passed. And we are now under a considerable time crunch, I believe. And that was a time crunch which started back in April. You know, we received the census data. It then had to be applied to the local precinct and local city, county level, and that took us into July. And that's why we started with the July-August hearings. Let's get folks here, let's have them testify. And I understand some people said, well, there was some testimony, not all the testimony, but there's some testimony that said, well, you know, we'd like for this to take a long time for this process to take place. And there may be various motives that people have if they want to have that take a long time for that to take place. But, you know, at some point, also, a decision has to be made. And I think that this, you know, the schedule that we're on, remember, it doesn't stop tomorrow. It doesn't stop Thursday. It then goes to the Senate. And I don't know if the Senate is going to take a week or 2 weeks or exactly what we're going to do. But if we move forward tomorrow on this out of this committee, this process still isn't going to be done until the end of the month. Now we're into October. During all of the suggestions by the various members of, some members of the committee who said, well, we should take longer to look over these. No one has said to me, well, but we do need to get it done by at least this date. That's never been suggested to me. It's just, let's take longer. And I guess I can tell you that in practicing law in Ohio for 25 years plus now, most folks want the decision made. That's the most, can you get this done on time? Can the judge make the decision? I need to move on. And that's what we have with current congressmen, those who are interested in running for congressman, not just from the Republican Democratic Party, but from other parties. And you know, this process has been going on since April. And let me also say that today's map isn't a big surprise. It's not like I understand the details of it are, but you know, no committee member here should suggest that I didn't know there was congressional redistricting this year. We know this process is going on. Everybody's had an opportunity to call me, call their senator, call Speaker Batchelder, Leader Buttigieg, and say what they do or don't like, or do or don't want about any new congressional district. And that's happened. I've had a lot of conversations with folks who say, well, I want this or that. And, you know, those things are things that are always going to be happening. So I appreciate that. I appreciate that you may think that I'm unreasonable in this particular circumstance, but We got the other 99%.
Mr. Chairman, if I could follow. If we look at the map that you have before
Yes,
us
sir.
now, look at the 11th congressional district,
Mhm.
and we're just talking about the general public, people who we're here to serve. I think it would be a big surprise, it's going to be a big surprise to the people in Akron to know that now they're part of the congressional district of Collier County. And it goes down, it extends down into Summit County, and into Akron. And I'm wondering if those maps that you have are clear, that it's a map that will be available online to the public? Will they be in more detail so we can tell exactly what neighborhoods are included in these districts?
Representative Blessing and Representative Sykes, I don't know about the clarity of what's going to be available in terms of particular neighborhoods. I would say this, the previous congressional districts, particularly Representative Sutton's district, went from Summit County into Cuyahoga County. So that in itself really isn't changed from the prior map, which of course was passed and passed constitutional muster, although I don't believe there was actually ever any litigation about that. So I don't think someone in Summit County would be surprised that someone in Cuyahoga County may be their representative. Someone in Cuyahoga County could have the same issue in the last map about their representative being from Summit County. Also, as you know, there's an attempt to make a majority-minority district, which we did out of the 11th district, and that's one of the results of that drawing.
Mr. Chairman, just a comment. I am surprised. It is in my district. It is in my house district, and I am surprised. So I'm sure that many of the constituents in the Summit County Akron area will also be surprised.
Representative Feder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I have another great concern, and that is, currently the Democratic districts are competitive when you think about how much money it takes in the media markets. So I've just noted that in District 9, you've got Toledo, Cuyahoga, media market. You need bucket loads of money to deal with that. When you compare other districts, such as 5, you're just not going to have that type of competition in trying to get the media markets paid for. Also, Cuyahoga County, there are 4 congressional districts in Cuyahoga County, and I truly question the preservation of counties, preservation of communities of interest, and preservation of cores of prior districts. I mean, this map makes no sense at all unless you are a politician. And my opinion is politicians should not be picking voters. Voters should be picking politicians. So if you want to respond to the media market competition and the bucket loads of money that we're going to have to raise to influence voters, I appreciate it.
Representative Blessing, Representative Feder, well, specifically, media markets and money are not traditional recognized principles in redistricting. So that's something that we're not going to take into account. As it relates to Cuyahoga County, it's necessary to go into Summit County in order to obtain the majority-minority district, and that's one of those issues. And as it relates to other opportunities to do this in a different way, I believe the folks in the majority in the House and the previous General Assembly had an opportunity to move forward in a different way and chose not to do that. And so this is the system that we have today, and that's why we're moving this bill forward.
Representative Pye.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Huffman, could you talk some about what will happen on December 7th and which filing deadline, if the primary date does not pass an emergency clause, which map are we operating under on December 7th? I'm very nervous that we're headed into kind of legal chaos as far as December 7th, the 90-day window to get this bill implemented, and wonder if you could comment on what our voters and candidates supposed to operate under on that date, and some advice moving forward.
Chairman Blessing, Representative Clyde. Well, obviously that date affects others besides the congressional districts. There's an issue regarding presidential candidates, especially on the Republican side, and I don't understand necessarily all the legal vagaries of it, but it has to do with their internal rules and gathering signatures from congressional districts. And if there aren't congressional districts, they're not going to be able to do that. I'm not sure if that's a motivation for not moving the primary date back or not. But I can assure you that there is going to be litigation from presidential candidates on the Republican side to get on the ballot if House Bill 318 is not passed, if we don't move the primary back. That will happen. As far as members of the General Assembly, of course, we'll have to file our petitions by the December 7th date. As it relates to congressmen, there's been a variety of potential suggestions out there that if the date isn't moved back, there might be two primaries, there might be litigation by the congressional delegation on each side. I really don't know the answer to that question. But it seems very simple that if this process and those issues can be solved by having a May primary instead of the March primary, which I think certainly the boards of election and other folks involved in elections have indicated to me is appropriate. I had a meeting with Secretary Husted personally several months ago. He had a variety of issues on his plate, but one of them is that a May primary was preferred by him. So I'm not going to ask Secretary Husted up here to testify, but that's something that he represented to me in that meeting. So we shall see, is I think the best answer to your question.
Representative Fenner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And